Welcome to Superintendents Roundtable. I'm Deborah Vinsel, the CEO here at Thurston Community Television. Periodically, we meet with the superintendents from the 4 large school districts in Greater Thurston County to talk about issues related to education in the area. We're pleased to have with us again the superintendents from our local schools. I'm pleased to introduce Raj Manhas from the North Thurston Public Schools, Andy Wolf from Yelm Community Schools, John Bash from the Tumwater Schools, and Dick Cvitanich from Olympia School District. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I know your schedules are busy, and it's always a pleasure to have you here. So we're at the end, almost at the end of the school year. We see it approaching us, and a lot has happened since we last got together. So let's talk a little bit, first off, about the levies that happened, the election that happened in February, and they were all successful, and what that means for your district. So Raj, I'm going to give you the start there.
Well, it was a 4-year levy for us, almost $164 million. So that sort of tells the story that, number one, community really supports our schools, and we had a 68% passage rate. We were very impressed by that. It's the confidence of the community, number one. And secondly, I think it's a message that almost 41 million a year out of 150 million total budget is supported by local levies. And that's basic education. But we are very thankful the community approved it, and it will continue to do great work for us. On the other side, if we want to, 2 years earlier, we passed a bond, a huge amount, $175 million. Again, similar number, passage rate, 68%. And with the state's contributions going to be almost $250 million. There's a huge program happening in our school system. The whole physical phase, technically and security, everything is being upgraded. But if I may, just quickly, we'll open a 4th comprehensive middle school, Salish, and it's going to be opening, and there's an open house on June 6th. Coming up soon.
So it'll be open for the fall?
For fall,
okay.
Absolutely. Ahead of schedule, under budget. It's beautiful, state-of-the-art, excellent facility, and it'd be a great place for community to come and meet. And it's their kind of community center too, as part of
and
the.
And for folks who don't know, where is Salish located?
It's up in Hawkes Prairie area. And I don't have the exact address, but it's on that Willamette.
That northern end.
That area there. And also we are finishing, I know for the last 3-4 years we have been working, transitioning to 6-8 middle schools. We needed this final middle school to complete that, so that will be done when we open this. All middle schools will be 6, 7, 8. North Thurston High School going through major renovation, just similar to what we did Timberline a few years ago. And that was built in 1983. So new athletic building is already getting, done, almost done, will be complete this summer. Phase 2 will be our main academic building, and that's under construction. No more portables. There were almost 20 portables in that high school. Evergreen Forest will be completed this summer. We did half of it in the last few months. There's another one which is, I think, is really, really one of the most innovative things we did. We call it Slater Kinney Annex, but it's a former Valley facility next to North Thurston High School. So we used it to, as we are working on North Thurston, we built a smaller gym there so we could demolish the other gym. And that will be more of a community and also for a whole school system gym once we are done, once the North Thurston is complete. But the other thing we are doing is 2018, we'll be moving Aspire Middle School with a larger space, more students, and the school they will vacate. That will be for an elementary school. So basically buying this property for $2.2 million something, but spending money, but we are getting a pretty much free elementary school out of this. At the same time, this particular facility not only will have the Aspire and the gym, but also a top of the line, a professional development center, a kind of conference center for our own school system as we are growing. It's really a great accomplishment for us.
Okay,
So, but
great.
thank you, the community who supported us, and I think it's really working very well for us.
Congratulations
Yeah, thank
on all
you.
those.
Thank
Andy,
you.
how about you?
Yeah, so all the districts went out for a 4-year this year, and so we all felt very good about that. So we have a 4-year levy also that passed, and that so great celebration there. That was good for us. We did fail our bond, and so the bond was going to be significant for us, and is significant for us as we have continued growth out in Yelm, and so that is a piece that's troublesome, but we'll be able to manage that piece as we go forward.
Are there plans to bring a bond forward again?
The board and the key communicators we have a large community group that comes in and helps to do that thing. It's about 70 folks that give insight into that from various parts of the community to work on that piece. So they're kind of working on that in the backdrop a little bit. One of the things that we will do though on the facility piece is that we really don't have any more room in our schools at all, and so actually we'll begin to lose out on state funding for class size because we have no more ability to put. We're using our libraries, converting them into classroom. Our tech labs are now becoming classroom. All our specialists are art on a cart type things. We're starting to lose that ability in the district. So in the 2017 school year, we will bring all our freshmen, who are right now, we are 7, 8, 9s at our middle schools. We'll bring all our freshmen back to the high school campus, which is the 10, 12. So that facility was designed for about, I think, 1,300 students. We'll have 1,600 students on campus at the high school. That will allow us then to bring our 6th graders back in the middle school, which will open up about 450 seats in our elementaries, which will give us a little bit of breathing room. But with our growth, that is just it's just a pause.
Right.
It's just a stopgap in how that situation works. We will house those freshmen. We have currently right now we have about 80 portables in the district total, and we'll be adding an 8-plex at the high school, which is a large modular construction with 8 classrooms in it. And so about 12 new portables at the high school, which will just give us more classroom space. It won't be a 9th grade wing, but it will probably 4 out of their 6 classes will be in that area. Concerns there again is you're going to have to add another lunch, other costs. One of the things that the community I think will understand quite rapidly is that when you have 450 freshmen coming to your high school, not all of them will ride the bus. And in Yelm, because we're a commuter, it's convenient to drop their kids off. Well, Yelm High School is right on the Yelm Ave. So you put 400 more cars dropping kids off in the morning, at night, and Yelm traffic can stop. I think that they will quickly realize that there's some flaws to this, but we just don't really have any other options at this point in time. So, but really, really happy with the way, the levy has always been a positive thing out there. Really happy with Brian Wharton, our high school principal, and that staff, and middle school staff. The transition plan for the facilities has been really, really nice. One of the things that we're having a little tough time with in Yelm right now is we have maxed all our school sites. So really even to place a portable on those sites is not feasible anymore without huge infrastructure, sewer, plumbing, the front road, those local improvements. So kind of in a little bit of a tough situation, but I'm sure that we'll get there. It's just a matter of finding that right tone for folks, and we go. One of the things in our levy package, we are probably one of the few districts that really haven't, that haven't got to the max ever. Some people are close, they hedge up and then back off. We stay between that 24 and 26, just because we're mom and pop. And so we don't have a huge business infrastructure, so it's usually one house on 5 acres or in a community. And so we have to be really conscious of that. And even then, our assessed tax is probably going to be as higher, much higher than most to get what we've got. But no, really, really happy the community came through with the levy. That will allow us 4 more years of really great programming for students. And the facilities will be our biggest challenge.
Okay. John, what's going on in Tumwater?
Well, yeah, similarly, we're pleased and grateful to our community for supporting the 4-year replacement levy. And I emphasize replacement because in Tumwater, voters also passed a sizable bond as they did in North Thurston at the same time. And so at that time, our board promised the community they would keep the total tax rate at a certain cap. And so the proposal we took out to voters honored that promise, and it basically had a modest 4% per year increase built into it, which was consistent with the prior 4-year trend. So our voters said, yes, we will support the 4-year replacement levy. And what it provided was money to help us continue offering the programs to our kids that we have been, but not any new money to expand or create a lot of new programs. So it truly was a replacement. And With the bond, I'm happy to report that our projects are currently on time and within the total budget that the voters approved. Like North Thurston, we're excited to open a brand new Peter G. Schmidt Elementary School. We actually have an event scheduled for nostalgia's sake, for any members of the community that would like to say farewell to the existing Peter G. Schmidt on May 16th from 3:30 to 5:30. In Tumwater, one thing I'm learning as the new superintendent is a lot of families come there, stay there, raise their family there, and what we're seeing is 5th, 6th generation families
Through
going
that
through
same
Tumwater
school,
School.
yeah.
So that's a sign of the community's interest in not only excitement about a new building, but being able to at least relive maybe their own elementary moments in that school. In addition, we have done some more work with security in mind. We installed a state-of-the-art security camera system at Black Hills High School. This summer, Tumwater High School will receive 49 similar cameras and a system. In addition, we're excited to kick off this summer a garden project with the local Grub organization in partnership with the city of Tumwater. And so, much like the Olympia School District has done for the past few years, we fashioned the program after theirs. In fact, a lot of the same people that have helped Olympia are now helping us with this. And so we'll have a groundbreaking ceremony in May, and are excited to have the city joining us as a partner. There's a barn there. They've brought a water line in. We have power down there, and still lots of work to do. So anybody out there interested in gardening, we're looking for in-kind contributions too. And then we have design work starting at East Olympia Elementary. Construction begins at Little Rock Elementary to modernize that facility this summer. And then we are moving our 6th graders to the middle school level from the elementary starting in 2017. So we have early site work going on in our 2 middle schools to begin work on 2 new wings, one at each school, to house those new students coming there.
Thanks, John. Dick, what's going on in the city of Olympia, or in the Olympia schools?
Well,
City's a pretty big place.
before I talk a little bit about the levy and bond, I would like to take a moment to talk. We've got a pretty good example of one of the problems that the state is really trying to deal with, and we really need to address, is that you have a growing community in Yelm where there's been some difficulty passing a bond issue, and we've got students going to school in some challenging conditions, and yet Yelm their students continue to perform really well. And then you have other communities where there's this successful bond issue. And there are a lot of variables around that, but it is certainly something that we need to address as a state across our district. And we've talked a little bit about this before, that by nature of where I live or the area code in which I reside, I might have more advantages than another group of students. And there's something very wrong about that, and I think we need to attend to that. That being said, I'm fortunate to work in a community that supports public education in a really big way, and our 4-year maintenance and operations levy and our $160 million capital facilities bond was very successful. In fact, our M&O levy had the highest plurality since 1992. We had almost 76% of our voters vote yes. And in our capital facilities bond, we had the highest plurality in 35 years, right around 72%. And I'm grateful for that, and don't take it for granted. But it does point out some of the inequity that exists. And so we're going to be able to move forward here with our capital facilities dollars to enlarge some of our schools. The spending of that is a little ways off. We'll begin in January of 2017 to enlarge Centennial Elementary, Pioneer Elementary, and Hanson Elementary, where we'll construct what we call mini buildings, about 11 classroom buildings that will go on the space. We've traditionally had smaller elementary schools, right around 350 to 400, and we're looking at building those elementaries up to around 500, a little over 500, and it makes more sense in terms of itinerant staff and being in a building instead of having to travel from building to building. So we haven't done a whole lot to get it started. But just for the audience, there are lots of things to be done. It's not just buildings out there. Our very first project was to fix the sewer line at LP Brown, and that's about a month-and-a-half project. And there are a lot of things that aren't quite so dramatic and out front like a new building, but we've begun some of those things while we're in the design process. Most visible things this summer, we'll resurface tennis courts at Olympia High School and Capitol High School while we're in the design. We are just about finished putting in security cameras at all of our secondary schools, and we'll begin our work on our elementary schools that we should have completed by the end of this summer as well. So with our vote and the dollars that are accruing to the district, we're just kind of in the takeoff stage right now.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the legislature. We talk about the legislature every time we get together, it seems. Another special session. It took them an additional 20 days, 22 days, something like that, to finish the work. But I think it would be safe to say that you don't really think the work is finished because from the outside looking in, it appears that, the can was kicked down the road yet once again. And on March 29th, the Olympian printed a fairly comprehensive review of the legislative actions, and in it it says, the state is in contempt of court for failing to submit a plan to fully fund public schools by 2018. Earlier this year, lawmakers passed a plan that pledges to study the issue further and resolve remaining problems in 2017. The budget does include $7 million to help recruit and retain K-12 school employees, half of which would go toward mentoring programs for beginning teachers. So here we are with the McCleary decision, still, hanging over the heads of the legislature, the Supreme Court finding the legislature in contempt, another budget passed with no fix, but let's talk about talking about it kind of thing. So I just want to open that up for just general comment and conversation, and where do we go from here?
I'll start, Deborah. I think, it's becoming a routine thing that they haven't done much. And this year, especially when extended session, we were hoping at least they'll fix that, the so-called levy cliff.
I was going to ask about that too, and what that means. What is the levy cliff?
Well, the way we collect levy, there was a X percentage increased some time ago how much we can collect all over the state because they knew they are not funding the basic education at the state level, so it was sort of passed on to the local level. Now, they 2 years ago or something, they basically 3 years ago, I've forgotten when, they said, well, by this time we will have the basic funding all sorted out, so we need to go back to where we were.
So that increase is going to disappear.
Disappear, and our hope was that at least they'll do that. I mean, our other hope was maybe, I think we discussed last time, at least agree to some sort of framework when they come back next year. This is how we're going to fully fund public schools. So we didn't hear anything much on that. And we didn't even, the problem they had created for themselves, it wasn't, and they didn't solve that either.
Right.
Now that particular thing, at least for our school system, if it's not done for 17-18 budget cycle, that means almost $10 million for North Thurston Public Schools.
That your budget will be reduced.
1 year reduced, and that's like 100 teachers. So I don't see the urgency or importance of, on one hand, all the things we say is the most important thing they're working on, but we haven't seen the results.
So to clarify for our viewers, so the levy increase was established as just a temporary patch.
Yes.
And it expires at the end of 2016?
It is for 17-18, it will be impacted, yeah. 17-18.
Okay, so your budgets that you are
Yeah.
planning for right now are impacted by that.
They actually have one more opportunity.
One more opportunity.
In next session, they could do something, but if they go to an extended session.
Yeah.
So clearly, they put the levy cliff in, raised the levy percentage because they were not funding basic education. They
Gotcha.
threw it back to the local taxpayers. Our local taxpayers, as you have just heard,
Have stepped up.
Have stepped up.
Yeah.
The levy used to be for extracurricular and those extras. All of us now are using our levy for basic education funds. We've had to backfill our basic education funds. The levy cliff was said because of the McCleary decision that they would be able to reduce this back to the 24% piece because they would be fully funding education. What they've come out with now is a plan for their plan for the plan, is what we continue to hear, and no real movement. Now dollars have come our way, but it has not been what we significantly need to overturn this piece. With the levy cliff looming for us, one of the things that's really hard is that if they get into session and as their track record has been and they go long again, we have to let staff know by the spring of next year if they have employment with us.
Right.
So if the levy cliff goes away, it's really just another discouraging thing for staff to say that we're going to have to give out pink slips
Well,
to
and we've done that dance before.
right, a
You
number
know,
of people.
That
and
happened
then-
a couple years ago.
and it creates
Yeah.
a chaos. On the other side of that piece, one of the things that this has done, and I don't think that they see the offshoot, we have a teacher shortage in Washington State. But if we keep kicking them in the shin and people, we're not making it attractive for people coming out of our universities, we're kind of cutting our nose off to spite our face. And so it's really kind of it was disheartening. And I think it was disheartening for teachers and administrators alike. I think people who are really involved in education. I really believe that they'll strive to get there. We also heard this year, which this is a very active coalition, the Four Soups. This area should be very proud of what the work that these men do at the legislative level and advocating for students. But one of the reasons that they felt like that they couldn't get to this was because it was an election year and nobody wanted to come out with a strong statement either way. And again, that's why they're elected to do the things for kids.
Year.
Yeah. And
It's always an election year.
There's just, for a lot of us, it's a little disheartening, it's a little discouraging. So right now, utilizing resources for next year, many people are preparing two budgets, a what if and a what if. And you have a pro and a con, glass half full, glass empty type situation. Again, that eats up resources, time, and things that could be putting towards programming for students, and really and really having our focus be about student achievement rather than where does our next shekel come from. And so that's kind of my take on it. I don't know if
Jump in, gentlemen.
I was just going to add, I'm a bit of a wonk when it comes to organizations. I like to study organizations and how they work and why they don't work. And for us as a group, this levy cliff, I think for superintendents in the state, was really one of the major issue for us, because we don't want to put our staff through this next budget year. If Andy had talked a little bit about the RIF notices and what that does to a young teacher in a classroom. Am I going to be able to afford my daycare? Am I going to be able to afford my house? Am I going to, have gas money? Where am I going to be working? They need to be thinking about teaching kids and putting energy into that work. And so that part really is disheartening. But the hard part when I start thinking about organizations, and we talk about this in our school district, is it's okay to have positions and beliefs and values. That's natural. And in our legislature, we have people who have strong beliefs and opinions. But where is the point where that ideology or partisanship prohibits doing what's right? And I think that's the big frustration as I look at it from an organizational perspective, not a whole lot unlike what's going on in Congress. But if we really value public education, we have to get over that ideology as to who won and who lost, and whether it's an election year or not. What is it we need to be doing for the kids in this state? Incidentally, a very fast-growing state. Every year we wait, more kids are going through this system. And we need to set those things aside and really focus on what's important. And I think that was pretty disheartening for all of us.
Well, you pretty much answered what I was going to ask. Has it really just come down to partisan politics? Is that really what it is?
I believe so.
I believe it has, and we in Thurston County meet regularly with our local legislators, and we hear that from them as well, and we encourage our colleagues across the state to engage regularly with their legislators for this reason, to continue not only hearing what our interests are, but what the impact is of the lack of movement, the lack of doing the right thing is at the local level. An added impact that hasn't been mentioned is a piece of full funding is staff compensation. It's probably the biggest piece. And what this stalemate has also created is unprecedented pressure on school districts across the state in collective bargaining, and our region is no exception to that. And all of us believe teachers deserve more and need more, and that they've been neglected by this state for far too long. The challenge is, if the state doesn't step up, then that pressure then shifts to the local school districts. And if you read the news, you're seeing that there's more and more of that going on in all four corners of Washington state. So we will do the best we can with the local resources we have to provide not only a fair compensation package to our staff, but we also have to be good stewards of money, knowing how volatile our state funding situation has been. So often our employees will look at what we call our fund balance or our savings account and say, well, why can't you just use that money? And we're often saying the same thing in our respective districts. Well, because we live in a state where funding has been anything but stable and ample, we need a solid rainy day fund to make sure we not only can deal with some of those things, but the things that can happen in any large organization that require expenses you may not have planned on.
Yeah. So, you know, is there, I mean, what are you planning for? I mean, you've said there's the what if and the what if, and what if? You know, it's like.
That's the question for all of us. I think that we want to believe. We want to believe that this will be resolved, and we want to go forward in a positive nature, and we want to support our teachers and our students, but there is a caution here, because it's kind of, we've heard it before. And I don't mean that to be facetious or mean, or it's just really it's just a track record. Yeah. And so I think you have to be, you know, if you're where we are in the position and you look at, you are wrapping your arms around your community, you know, whether in my district, you know, it's almost 6,000 kids and 700 employees and that large, you have to put your arms around them and say, I want to hold them for not just this year or the next year, but for a vision down the year. Yeah. And we have to provide that. And so that's the scary piece, because we're asked to create great programs, be innovative, take our kids to the next level, but we don't know what our vision looks like for tomorrow for us, but we're expected to get out in front of it. And so the variables are very great right now. I think it's harder for people in the classroom than it's ever been, because I think they don't know either. And I think that we do have many young teachers that just say, this is crazy. And we do have, we see teachers leaving the profession because of that it's uncertain, you know. And so I think that the sooner this can be resolved, and I think it's going to take a strong voice to have that happen. I will tell you that, you know, I think it was 2 years ago, there were 6 strikes, you know, teacher strikes. I think last year there was 13. And I think the prediction this year, I think from actually the WEA, is that they'll be somewhere closer to 24. And so, and I think that districts are getting further and further to the point where they can't afford what they're doing at their own level because of this, the pressure is coming back their way, and you know that's a concern. So,
anybody else want to share on this? It's a topic that it's easy to get into. It's a little hard to get out of. Well, we could talk about it for a long time.
It has already been said, but it is really, you know, it's very difficult to explain that when it comes to really dealing with on-ground realities, it's the superintendents and the boards have to deal with it. Our community, statewide community, knows that there's a huge percentage of local money being used for state level responsibility, which is the basic funding for education. But the other part is really, as has been said, demoralizing to our staff, and especially in a climate when there are a lot of young people are not thinking about going into education. So that, I think, strategically we are hurting ourselves at any level if you want to think about it. And it has gone too far for too long not dealing with this. It doesn't matter. We don't have at our school level Republicans or Democrats. We have kids
Right.
who are coming to us, and we need to serve them. And so that's the frustration. And teachers, has already been said, I believe we need to make teaching profession one of the most respectful, well-supported, well-funded
Revered.
profession to really attract the future people who can come and teach our kids.
I don't think there's any arguments at the
Yeah.
table for that. It will be interesting to see how it all pans out, though,
Yeah.
with the potential impact of the national election picture, because it's so incredible right now,
But have you
for lack
heard
of any other
anything,
word.
even in national discussion, have you heard anything about education so far?
Very, very little.
When
very,
you know,
very little.
when you know almost 50% of the state funding in every state is for education.
Mm-hmm. What you hear is about Common Core, like getting rid of Common Core, which is like,
Right.
Yeah.
I mentioned that we meet regularly with
Mm-hmm.
our legislators, and there was a new board member from Olympia in our last meeting. I remember she asked, as a new board member, what advice as a legislator would you have for us in terms of what we do? Well, one of the things she got in response was, folks need to pay real close attention and exercise their right to vote in terms of who actually represents them in the legislature, and that's on the horizon. And so I repeat that in this show because I think that's an important thing. When you look at the percentage of turnout by voters, that's a troubling statistic as well. I think if more people tuned into what do these individual candidates represent in terms of a platform, and does that match what we all need in terms of the future, I agree with that particular opinion that we need to all be very active in the legislative process and the election process.
Yep. And we will meet one more time before the national election, or the roundtable will meet one more time before the national election. So get out and vote. It's important on all levels, on all levels. So let's, we know we're coming up on the end of the school year. Graduation is on the horizon. What happens in your districts in the summer? Who wants to start with that? Dick, what's going on in your district in the summer?
Well, aside from the projects that we'll be doing, a variety of those, everything from roofing to sewers, as I mentioned, and other projects, all of our elementary schools this year will have a Jump Start program from August 8th through the 26th. And we're targeting kids who have maybe struggled during the course of the school year, and we're really happy to offer that program. Gets them kind of ready, gives them about another 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks before the school year starts to kind of account for the summer loss, which is very real for kids who don't have print in front of them or are actively engaged in learning. So that's the first year we've been able to do every one of our elementary schools, and we're really pleased to be able to do that. We've partnered with organizations to add extra time. For example, we're partnering with the YMCA at Gloria Day Lutheran School, or Gloria Day Lutheran Church, to target 25 students in that area for a full week, full day, free educational services called Power Scholars, and Friday activity trips to access cultural activities, and we're very excited about that. Our secondary schools also will have a summer program, mostly about credit retrieval or trying to get a little bit ahead. So we're going to be busy during the summer. More and more, we want to be busy in the summer because the services are needed for students.
Great. What's happening in Tumwater this summer?
Similarly, lots of projects, as I mentioned, but in the summer we do have an elementary program targeting our third grade students who need additional assistance with literacy. Our high schools will be offering a unified credit retrieval summer school hosted at Tumwater High School, and that'll be about a 4-week program. In addition, we're going to kick off our garden project with some students, probably 18 to 20 students who we hope then will carry on into the school year. And then Tumwater is the host district for Newmarket Skills Center, and they have offered a robust summer program for several years, and this year that will happen again. And so folks that are interested in looking at any of those, I'm sure can go to any of our websites
And
and
that's high
find
school-
more information.
high school and up.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great. Andy?
We too will offer expanded learning opportunities for our students at the elementary. This will be our second year of offering it at every elementary, and very similar to what Dick explained. We start in August. It's about a 2 to 3 week program. prior to school, bringing those students in. Usually it's our struggling readers at that situation that we've targeted, kind of get them in that situation. We all know we call it the summer dip, is when students leave school, they're at this level of reading, and oftentimes to that time, they don't have access to quality materials, or just maybe they just get out and play a lot, just really don't pick up the book. So this gives them a situation to come back in. Ironically, we call it Jumpstart also. I think we must have stole it from somebody. But I think it's been a great program. We really have a very robust high school program, and the fact that Brian Wharton, our principal, when he came out there, started a really good summer school program combined with teachers in-house and online. And so that's been a really successful piece for us. So we'll have students at the high school doing that thing. And then we also, with that expands down into some of our middle level students too. And then we have many students that will access the New Market Skills Center, as John said, that'll utilize that, and not only for traditional classes, but for some of the non-traditional courses that are out there, that they can have that too. So I think that, as we think about school years now, I think you're seeing that typical 180-day is starting to melt away, which personally, in my opinion, probably should. I think that if we really want to give students adequate time, we keep adding to the layers that we want them to learn, but we're not giving them any more time in the day.
To do it.
So we probably need to add a few more days to that piece and go forward. But yeah, no, I am very excited about what we've achieved in our programs, and we have some great teachers that are willing to give up time and come back in that summer and work in that world, and they're excited, so it's great.
Right.
In our case, we have really, we made a special focus of summer school. Not only the credit retrieval, but also students who really want to take additional courses, which they don't have spots in during their regular year. I think last year we did more than almost 600-700 students were served in different programs. But third year, as has been said before by John, third grade reading program, and that was first last year. Almost 70 kids participated, and these were the ones who were struggling. So 83% of them made the standard, of reading. So we were very happy, and this year we are going to even strengthen that more. Another part which is really, really good for our school system, where Together organization, Lacey Parks and Recreation, Thurston County Food Bank, they come together, they provide food and activities, in few schools, elementary schools, which is again a beautiful thing to watch. Most of these programs last at least 4 or 5 weeks during the year, and we are trying to promote more of this year. And for third grade, for example, reading program, we provided free transportation. So parents don't have to worry about who will transport them. It has been a great feeling that we can, as has been said, the dip sort of takes place in certain cases. We can offer all of these programs for them.
Great. Well, we're coming up to the end of the program. I like to give everybody an opportunity to, consider the school year so far and share a special story. And for our viewers' sake, we're going to spend a few extra minutes at the end of the show with Raj. So I'm going to start with Andy, and we're going to go that direction and come back to Raj. Okay?
I'm going to tell you that, probably because it's really fresh in my mind, we have many wonderful things out in Yelm, but last night at our school board meeting, we recognized our volunteers of the year. So Yelm has about 3,000 volunteers that come through our door that we screen and bring through there, and so each school selects that. It was really fun to watch those people come forward and have the school say some accolades, so that was a really special thing. But even better than that, Robin Tuckett, who is our high school theater arts teacher, last night brought 5 students down to our school board meeting. And they have a play coming up in the near future, a musical, The Drowsy Chaperone. And they performed in our boardroom. And they put on this production that I will tell you that we know about the math and those other things that are going on, and you can't lose that whole student, but the fine art side of this programs. And so I guess what I'm really excited about in Yelm is how our fine art programs, and people will maybe think that's silly, but how they're just taking off and they're going forward. These kids last night, I standing ovation. Honestly, I would have canceled the meeting and just let them keep right on going. But it was a great event, and I'm just so tickled by all that. Our theater group at the high school, our band, our choir at both middle level, all the way down into our elementaries. Those are special moments for me, and you know, it's a connection, possibly because my dad used to be a drama and choir person. So that means a lot to me. So really, really neat things this year in that world.
And the arts are so important because there's so many kids for that's what connects them to their school.
That's the
You know,
hook.
that's the hook. That's
right.
what keeps them interested. So thanks for your support for that. How about you, John?
Well, I decided to bring a story that shines a light on the people that remember we serve kids, especially those who struggle, and sometimes it requires going an extra mile on their behalf. And in this time when there's such a focus on, you know, achievement data and graduation rates and this thing called on-time graduation, we all know that there's a segment of our kids who have a life circumstance that may not always make it possible for them to graduate on time. And I'm so proud of one of our teachers. Her name is Jeanette Holliker. She works in our alternative high school program called Secondary Options. And this story came to me just last week. We had a 24-year-old former student come back and reconnect with Jeanette because she had created a relationship with this young man who had a host of challenges, some of them very personal that I can't get into in a broadcast. But he reached out to her because he wanted to go to South Puget Sound and complete a GED program, and it was a pretty intensive program. And she sat him down and said, well, wait, let's take a look at what you need to finish to get a high school diploma here, which was a shorter and more attainable path. And she took her own time to research, okay, public schools generally don't serve 24-year-olds, but she found in the law that we may, under certain conditions, as long as it doesn't detract from the services we provide to the kids that we are charged to serve. And so, long story short, within a 1/4 period of time, about 10 weeks, she was able to help the student finish, and just 2 weeks ago they had a big celebration handing him his diploma at age 24. And now he has dreams to take this success forward to become either a psychologist, a teacher, or somebody like that who can help others who face these challenges overcome them too. And so that was a heartwarming story that I thought deserved to be shared.
Well, congratulations on that. Dick?
That's a great story.
It is a great
it takes
story.
a ton of courage to come back to school at that age, and we talk about courage in different ways. That's a pretty remarkable thing to be able to do. You know, I spoke with Susan Gifford, our public information officer, about good stories, and of course she gave me 8 pages.
We don't have time for 8
we don't have time for 8.
pages.
So I'm just gonna select one that I really liked. It might have to do with my. You know, we're all aging. I think we all have gray hair. Some of us have some hair. But I really like this story. It happened at Capitol High School. We invited senior citizens from around Thurston County to come to Capitol High School for an afternoon, and our band played Glenn Miller tunes. Our horticulture club made corsages and boutonnieres, and the PTO provided cookies and punch. And people danced the afternoon away. They danced the afternoon away in the Capitol High School cafeteria, and you know, people were just delighted. There were huge smiles on people's faces. The music was great, and you know, the overwhelming response is, when are you going to do it again? And it was just a really nice event linking high school kids with senior citizens who might not normally have that kind of connection.
Right.
I'm really proud of that.
Right.
So.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I come to Raj, I do want to share with our viewers the reason we're taking a special moment is this is Raj's last appearance on the Superintendents Roundtable since he announced his retirement several months ago and will be leaving the North Thurston Public Schools at the end of the school year. It's been our pleasure to have him at the Roundtable these many, many times. And so I want to just give you the last, 5 minutes or so, maybe even a little longer, to share your special story and anything else you'd like to share with us.
Well, first of all, I want to share the new superintendent, Dr. Deborah Clemens, will be joining on July 1st. Is from Cheney, Washington. She's a superintendent there. She's a former business teacher, has MBA, and she has 2 young daughters who will attend our schools. She is really, really focused on whole child and focus on all students. So I'm very impressed by her background and her personality, and we'll be spending more time in the next month or two with her kind of transitioning. But and I'm very happy for the system because they had attracted very good candidates. And by the way, she's the first woman superintendent of North Thurston Public Schools. So I think it's a great feeling I have as I'm leaving. Just quickly on some of the accomplishments, every year we have 1 or 2 schools. This year we had 3 schools got awards, state level, Aspire Middle School, overall, Woodland Elementary, Lacey Elementary, and there's some other schools. River Ridge was last year. So every year we have some 1 or 2 or 3 schools, which is really a great accomplishment by our system. Timberline Blazers, which is more of a paper there, always in the top 10 or so in the country. This year they were number 9th, and they have won 15 state awards. First in state for Skills USA, North Thurston School, this young lady named Clarissa, young girl, Jenkins. She's an auto mechanic. So she's first in the state and she's going to national. She's amazing. Amazing program, diversity of programs, the CTE programs going on. North Thurston robotics team competed at Super Regional in Oakland. And River Ridge boys basketball, 4th in the state. River Ridge track coach, this is one I want to, Phil Longborg, apparently has been with us for 39 years and was state coach of the year. Another thing I want to share is that we have been partnering with City of Lacey for a long time, but in the last few years during my time, we have really strengthened our partnership even further. We did a combined conference with the City of Lacey and us as a compassionate community conference. It was very well attended, and it's really something which as a community we will continue to do. And this is another thing which I know John Bash worked with us for some time. This was, part of our really exciting thing. When classified employees volunteer every year to stuff the bus kind of sport for our kids who are struggling, who come from homeless families and that kind of stuff. So it is really, there's a lot to celebrate as I look my time. But the school system already was doing well. What we have been doing is sort of continually improving and kind of good to great route. And it, in reality, if I may, technology, we are becoming state-of-the-art technology. We didn't have much before. When it comes to facilities, with all this sport I talked about, they're going to be, the whole physical face of the system will be amazingly well done, on time, within budgets. Another thing I want to share that it was covered quite a bit, 300-400 participated. We had to change the boundaries of the schools. Well, number one, because of the middle school, right, but also because some schools were overly, their population was a lot bigger than the others. And the board, I want to thank the board for their courage, for their hard work, because a lot of time people don't want to change. And it's a difficult decision. But in the long term, it's good for the system from academic standpoint, from economic standpoint, from the taxpayer standpoint. So when I reflect my almost 7 years here, I want to start with the community and the board, which gave me an opportunity to really be the superintendent of North Thurston Public Schools. It's an amazing place. And I call it real America because the diversity, the free and reduced lunch, 43, 44, 45% kind of both, is what our nation is all about. And the military families and everything else. So that has been a gift for me personally. And I'm thankful to the community and our board for allowing me to do it. And then secondly, I just want to say this group, I look at them and some of us have changed. A couple of people have left, but Dick joined, and then John I worked with very closely, and Andy. This is an amazing group of people. And this region is, as has been said by them, is so well, collaborate. They work together. We share with each other. We train, together on some of the things. It has been a great gift to me because I didn't come through the ranks like these folks did. So a lot of time I needed their help. Can you explain to me a little more? So I want to say publicly thank you, and especially John, who was 5 years with me. So I'm honored to be part of the community, part of the whole region here, and I think our students, our teachers, our parents, our community, our large business community, and to be honest, getting 68% support for our school system when there is a large population is really, they keep on moving, either military or others, is immense. And the kind of hug or the embrace I feel from the huge community, and they said, no, this is our school system, and we are doing very well. So thank you, and thank you for your continued sort of involvement in this work, because it's really sharing with the community what we do. And education and the public education is the backbone of our democracy. This is what I heard from I'll share this, from my brother, who came to United States in 1959 to do his PhD in US, and he went back. He's 81 years old man. He's the one who told me the greatest nation on the face of earth is USA, and because they try to teach every student. In those days, at least, there were some other issues going on, because he was in Texas and he could see some of the other social ills, but his passion for the education for everybody, and that doesn't happen anywhere. So we don't want to lose that, and that's why sometimes our passion comes out in our discussions. So US, don't lose that passion for educating every child. That's the future. So thank you.
You are most welcome, and thank you for your service. I used to have a little sign next to my desk, and I think it applies to you a great deal. It said, managers climb ladders quickly, but leaders put them against the right wall and help other people take a step up. And I think that says a lot about you. And I think I've heard from so many people in the community over the years, in a lot of different environments, when your name comes up, the great respect that the community has for the leadership you've given to the North Thurston Public Schools and the service that you've given to our community. So we want to thank you for that. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for this last Superintendents Roundtable of the school year. We would like to congratulate the parents of all the upcoming graduates. Graduation season is upon us. You've done a great job with your kids. You can be proud of what they've accomplished. And if you're a graduate, congratulations. May your life be filled with success. If you're the parent of a preschool child, read with your child 20 minutes a day. It's one of the best things you can do to get them ready for their education. And if you're the parent of a school-age child, please get involved with their education. There are so many ways you can volunteer in your schools. Talk to your child's teacher or to their principal, or go to your school's website to find out how you might get involved. Thank you for joining us here at the Superintendents Roundtable. I'm Deb Vinsel for the volunteers and staff here at Thurston Community Television. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again in the fall.